for potential court-related issues. Move to agenda item number 4, approval of consent agenda, council minutes of November 16th, 2022. Receiving and filing of minutes from October 25th, 2022 meeting of the Belle Plaine Community Library Board of Trustees meeting, and bills received. Do we have any discussion on those issues? Hearing or seeing none, is there a motion?
Receiving filing of minutes from the October 25th meeting of the Library Board of Trustees meeting and bills received.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Resident comments. Seeing no residents in the room, I'm not going to go through that. Let's go to agenda item number 6A. Discuss for possible approval second reading of ordinance 2215 and ordinance amending chapter 50 nuisance abatement procedure and adding new chapter 57 criminal activity nuisance to the code of ordinances of the city of Belle Plaine, Iowa. Discussion. This is your second reading. So if there's anything there that draws your attention. If there is no discussion of it, looking for a motion for approval.
I'm assuming it's chapter 59. Not 57,
Right underneath it, doesn't
but all the rest of the things are 59, 02, 03,
Was that
04.
mistyped the last time? 'Cause I thought
I think we did point that out last time, that was an error.
well, I must not have corrected it, so change it to chapter 59.
Yeah, it's
Well, yeah, I know it's there.
but throughout.
It's just 5901, I guess.
Those need to be changed too. So that one,
it? What the previous page is.
I think that's the only place. The first one, 5701 should be 5901.
Yeah, 5002 and 5003 are correct.
Oh, those are correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, darts, poison arrows, or I will accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2215.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion on this ordinance. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 6B, discuss for possible approval to waive the third reading of ordinance 2215 and ordinance amending chapter 50 of the nuisance abatement procedure and adding a new chapter 59. Criminal activity nuisance to the code of ordinances of the city of Belle Plaine. Is anyone opposed to waiving the third reading tonight? If there's no opposition, I'll accept a motion to approve this one.
I move to approve waiving the third reading of ordinance 2215.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It will go into effect after it's been published and sent off to our publisher.
I have a question. Is there going to be any particular way that we are going to attempt to notify any of our landlords, or will just the publication be sufficient?
Well, when we make a ordinance change for the town, we don't attempt to send a letter to every person person in Belle Plaine that, hey,
Mhm.
the ordinance changed, so, and I'm not sure we have any kind of list that gives us all the landlords in Belle Plaine, so I'm assuming that this will just have to suffice when we publish it in the newspaper.
They
Less
publish
than-
it to Facebook.
Yeah, I'm planning on putting it on there.
Okay, as long as we do that, and it's gonna be on it'll be on our
Website.
website.
I'll send it to you and Gage sends me he's gotta send me the editable copy. Send it. I can email him tomorrow.
Unless you guys want us to send it to all the landlords in Belle Plaine.
I mean, how do we
How do we
know?
know?
And then if we don't get them all, then,
Mhm.
you know, I think it's better just to broadcast the information to the public in
Right, and
general.
perhaps put it in the newsletter next
Yeah.
month. that we have a
Let's
new ordinance.
have, Steve, there's your topic of your next newsletter. Write an explanation of this. And, put it in there. Or you can make the chief write an explanation of it,
I can do it.
but let's get it in the newsletter.
You're on it, chief?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, well, you'd have a better understanding of how it operates.
Okay, let's get it, something that explains it in the newsletter and an emphasis that folks, to the average citizen, this isn't gonna make any difference whatsoever. This is only problem households that this is gonna affect. And
Doing drugs and crimes, and you won't have any problems.
I can tell there are people that live next to some of these households will be happy to see this ordinance go into effect. And it does send a message that we are intending to deal with some of our nuisance households. So carrying over for that, let's start the police report with Chief Hudson. Do you have anything you want to tell the council?
Just a few things. Property owner, 909 9th Avenue, pled guilty today for failing to abate a nuisance, which was a dangerous building. And he had a garage there that had a huge hole in the roof, damage back in the derecho, and a conglomeration of other issues. And probably citing for a second offense here soon. Just keeping motivated to clean the place up.
Isn't he an out-of-town owner?
He is now, yeah. Andrew Markham will graduate December 16th from the academy, and then Andrew Bachelor starts his session on January 3rd. I don't know if you were made aware, but our dispatch contract was settled back on November 29th at the sheriff's office. We had a meeting that night. And, our portion or our fee or whatever is basically going to remain the same. They were talking a doubled increase originally, and then it went to $5,000 or $6,000 increase. And after that meeting, it's going to stay approximately the same. The other cities in the county that have their own police departments will see an increase. I don't remember now what, but they'll see an increase. And then we listed, Jay and I listed the 2 trucks, and just to bring you up to speed, the 75 International is currently at $2,225. The 71 Chevy is at $2,425, and the fire truck, the 85 model tanker truck, is at $2,675. They're listed on Bev Deals, and those auctions end on the 15th.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all I got.
Questions for the chief? Glad to see one more officer to the academy. We've got 5 certified officers up here. And you can yell the name Andrew and you just about get any officer in Belle Plaine. Let's move to item number A on that, under police report, discuss for a proposal to allow Chief Hudson to carry 111 hours of vacation time over. I'm recommending we do that, allow that to happen. Part of the reason that happens is because when we got guys at the academy, that takes us down to a 4-man crew, or if we got guys at the academy and somebody goes on vacation, or he's the guy that ends up filling in a lot of times. So I just think it's fair that we let him carry those over. I can almost guarantee he won't get all of those done in the hours he's earned coming next year either, but he has a better shot at it because, well, he's got a better shot because we should have 5 cops. We should be able to make it work, but
Oh, most of them hours, I think, Sandy and I talked about that, are from 2 years ago, actually. It was carried over and still didn't get used, so it's just going forward.
you can give him a definite move it or lose it clause, but just remember, we promised the citizens police coverage 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So I don't like to have hidden hours where we don't have someone on duty. Thoughts on ideas on this one?
I'm okay with carrying them.
I think we all understand why.
How about a motion in favor of that proposal?
I'll make a motion to approve Chief Hudson to carry over 111 hours of vacation time.
Is there a second to that motion?
I was like,
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
hi,
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. By the way, Sandy's sitting down in the first row because she's been out sick with not COVID and not RSV and not
The flu,
flu, but
bronchitis.
something else. And-
Just blah.
and
Bronchitis.
so it was her suggestion that she isolate herself farther away from the council.
Yeah, stay by Steve.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
up to
so I
Steve.
stick her down by the city administrator, but. Okay, let's talk about number 8, discuss the Derby property situation, 111 15th Street, Belle Plaine. Lyle brought this to my attention because there've been some complaints. That house has been tore down, but just dumped into the basement. I haven't checked the date on when it went down, but I would fathom to guess they've had their 90 days. Here's the legal problem. Jennifer and her firm can't represent us because that would be a conflict of interest. So do you want us to hire another attorney to take this case to court? Or, I mean, my proposal would say, let's just send her a letter and say, you got 2 weeks to give us a plan of action on this, or we're gonna have to take you to court. And then if that doesn't work, then we're gonna have to get a different attorney to represent us in that one case.
Is there, isn't
Have
there,
you talked to her or anything, or?
she had been keeping me updated, but I haven't heard anything lately. But I was, if I may ask Jennifer, I thought there was some kind of a provision if something didn't happen over a certain period of time that the city could take care of the problem and then assess it to the property.
There is. We haven't typically done that with nuisance properties, without a court order, but it can be done.
So that could be an option.
I
So we don't have,
prefer court orders so we don't get in a legal bind somewhere else down the road.
sure.
I mean, this is a little different than the other ones because this one, the structure's been removed. All what we have left is debris.
This letter that you send her, can we request that she put that fence up immediately? I've asked her once to put it up, and I think she did, and then it blew down again. It's just-
She was in here some time ago, but I don't recall.
Why?
mhm.
It's been.
Yeah.
weren't we
It was
in the
right
community
after-
center?
It was right after
Certainly
Dan
weren't in the
passed away.
community center.
Yeah, it was after Dan passed away because he
It
was
was right after
carrying the football on that one.
Mhm. So it's probably been a year now.
How about giving us a motion to send a letter to her, and if that doesn't work, then Steve and I'll come back with a proposal on what attorney we're gonna use.
I move to send a letter to the property owner at 1111 15th Street. And if there is no appropriate response, we will move ahead.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Steve and I probably have a lawyer in mind. We, you know, a slugger we've used in the past. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We'll get to work on it. Discuss for possible approval resolution 22-1201, a resolution to set a public hearing for a CDBG DR application in preparation of a community development and housing needs assistant grant. Let me give you a little background. This is the Moore building. It's going to be sold to another developer that Bent Development has brought in. And so the first grant that we've approved on that is going to be transferred to that developer. Well, there's this grant that's this big long title that comes from the state, but it's managed by EasyCog through the city. Talking with Bent Development today, this could range anywhere from $17,500 per apartment to as much as $25,000 per apartment with 5 apartments in that building, depending on how much of this grant they follow through on. There's increased if they use green furnaces and air conditioners, and all we're going to be is the pass through on the money. EasyCog will run the grant with the help of Bent Development, and it'll go through us, and then it'll go to the developer. We'll have a public hearing at the next meeting. Bent Development will be here, EasyCog will be here to speak, and the developer will be here, all the major players to explain what's going on. So it's going to take over a building that we had great plans for 2 years ago and put them back. Now, what's going into the businesses downstairs, not certain what the developer's plans are for those downstairs. He will come through with a plan. He brought in a pizza place in Shellsburg, so that could be a possibility here too. But it would give us 5 more quality apartments in Belle Plaine and give us a developer who will be working to do something with the downstairs building. So
Which building is that?
it's the double-sided one where
The old Grandma Putz.
yeah, Grandma Putz and the pawn shop were at. Remember when I was a kid, it had pool halls on both sides.
Okay.
With the Haycap Center at one point.
Yeah, the one on,
Yeah.
farther down there. Yeah, okay.
And I think the only thing we really have dedicated on that first grant is we may have to change the
Railings out
the
front.
railing
We had
out
talked about
front
that.
to make it a little easier to park and go into those buildings.
We offered some in-kind stuff that was basically things that
Snow
Don't-
removal.
don't have a whole lot of hard money from the city. So
And that's on the first grant. This will be a whole different grant that Kate made us aware of through EasyCog, and she will work with Sandy to do all the paperwork on the grant. So I don't think we can go wrong on this. I've said that before, though. So if I've made that explanation clear enough or muddy enough one way or another, is there a motion to approve that public hearing? I think the other thing that's in here then is the actual ad that we're gonna run. Did I put that in there with it?
Yeah.
The public hearing notice.
Yeah.
Looking for a motion.
I move to approve to set a public hearing for the CDBG DR application.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right, the reason I gave you one of these is because it's been a while since we've done anything with an incentive grant. We have 2 incentive grants to take a look at tonight, which I'm gonna refer to Steve, but I'm gonna guess that one of them for sure, the Osborne one, is probably gonna be $4,500, right, Steve?
Yeah.
And yes, I know these were not done in quite the proper order, because they've done them and they've paid for them. Not supposed to be done that way, but one was an emergency on a water heater, and the Osborne grant, I don't think they realized what a big mess they had chomped on when they took over that building. I think they've done a super job in renovating and making 2 viable storefronts for us there. So I would say we excuse the fact this wasn't done correctly.
I had a question on both of these, but I'll address the Osborne one first. Did community development receive their application fee?
All right. Brought up another question. We're sitting with a $100 bill down in the office. There was no committee. Belle Plaine Development's done nothing with either one of these grants. So what is they don't belong to Belle Plaine Development. So how's that $100 work? That's why I brought this out. You want us to just follow what's in the rules here on who gets the $100?
It ought to go into the pot, future grant.
Well, that could be the other. It's our money. You guys can do what you want.
The application fee information says payable to Development Community Development.
I know. Belle Plaine Community Development hasn't done their job on this, so we still want to pay them for nothing. That's your guys' choice. But there is $100 sitting cash from the first one, and there is a check for $25 on the second one. We will do with it what you guys want us to do with it. But these were all totally handled by Steve.
Well, I think we used to have a committee that, like, development that went over these, but that kind of fell by the wayside, I think.
Nah, really, it got so it was just I don't know what they did, but it was their development director did it, sent it to him, he reviewed it, sent it to us. But
Since
we
haven't-
got these actually before they had a director,
Right.
Right. That's
and they came here, and so we just held on to them, because you couldn't really go down and dump them on a new kid's desk.
Your rules say you guys can make changes at any time with or without notice, and the city of Belle Plaine has final say in the operation of the program. So if you decide you're gonna hang on to the $125, there's nothing that says you can't.
Or as a gesture of good faith, you can give 25 out of the 100 and 25 out of the application, and 75 we put into the grant money.
Well, I think going forward, now that community development has a director,
because it just didn't seem like it was all out of order. And, so I just kind of held on to them until it was time to do a couple. And
Well, we had the grant first with no receipts on the Osborne.
right, we had to wait for,
We waited a month and a half for them to gather the receipts. Do it whatever way you guys want. guys are getting paid big bucks to make these decisions. Over $125, which is not gonna make or break the city of Belle Plaine. Yet.
I'm going to abstain because I'm on the board.
Let's do them both at one. Well, is there any questions over the second one? Blown out water heater.
What are they asking for on that one?
330.99.
Sandy and I looked up, the water heater is covered.
Yeah, and I think that's one situation when you have heating or water, air conditioning, when it goes out, it goes out, and we've made exceptions to, in the past for that, you know, being an emergency and they file for the grant after the fact.
That's why I wasn't here last meeting, is because my water heater blew out, so it is something that happens, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and her business is a critical piece of you.
Yeah, I mean,
You'd like to see my latest plumber's bill that started out with my water softener not working.
so you want a motion to give the 125 to community development and approve both of these grants?
Yep.
I'll accept that as a motion.
There you go.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Remember, Judy's abstaining. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All those abstaining.
Aye.
So a 301 vote, it passes. I thank you for getting that off our plate, folks.
What does the, fund look like now?
You knew somebody would have.
And I have another application.
Do you have that right away?
too.
Pardon?
I have another incentive grant application.
Oh, great.
On to your committee, board, director, anyone.
It was handed to me to pass along yesterday.
Well, good, then why don't you take that down and show her what her job is and then leave it with her and have her get it back to you.
I'll grab that from you afterward, unless you want to pass it around or however you want to do it.
Business Incentive Grant Fund at the end of November was $19,787. This is gonna be 4,500 and 330, so 48 and change. So still be sitting at about 15,000.
Just curious.
All right, let's look at agenda item number 11. Discuss for acceptance of final settlement for EMC concerning 7th Avenue warning system from the derecho. As the email says to you, I'm telling you, EMC has been very good to work with over this. Their offer to us is to give us $100,000 and then let us work out our details with DOT if we're gonna give it there. That'll go to the Hawk system if they give us the Hawk system.
So the 100,000 is for this issue only, this warning system?
It's the only thing that's still outstanding. Everything else is done. Paid for, closed.
How does that compare to what you think the Hawk system will cost?
So the rough quote that I have is like 120 to 130 for the Hawk system. And they subtracted the RRFB system out because we can't return that. That's what the DOT made us put in. They wouldn't let us go with what we wanted to, so we had to purchase that system. But we'll have that to put somewhere else.
And I
If
think
they let
that's
us put it
gonna
in.
Definitely have to go down by the Dollar General store. I think we gotta have something to stop traffic, to slow traffic down.
I've kind of primed the DOT about that idea in discussions, and they haven't really raised any stink about it, but we haven't done a permit for it or anything because I didn't know where this was gonna all shake out.
So the 100,000 is basically the cost of the Hawk system minus the other system?
Right.
Okay.
And one of the discussions that we kind of had to do a quid pro quo with the DOT was they wanted to do 4-lane to 3-lane
Oh,
through
yeah.
there, if you recall that. So we need to work out, I need to work out with the DOT, how all that's gonna shake out. We did have an engineering firm give us a quote for $17,000 to do a study to see how that was gonna work.
Well, I'll be glad to give that bill to the DOT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
So-
told them they'd get our support for 3-lane if they gave us the haul. I didn't ever agree to pay anything for it.
no, that's correct. That's correct. The engineering firm just wanted us to know what kind of the scope of that would be.
I mean, we can handle 4 blocks of 3-lane there. We can have to handle 4 blocks of 3-lane down by Dollar General, but that would at least put a turning lane in the middle. That would make it safer for everyone. And I know the DOT's in love with these yellow flashing things we got down there because they're appearing everywhere.
So yeah, there could be 2 places where it's 4-lane to 3-lane potentially.
Possible. And that's just a part.
But I also asked them that it be 4-lane through the intersection, because when a train comes there, I mean, the cars would be backed up clear down to the school if we didn't have 4 lanes for people to double stack in, if that makes sense, when there's a train.
Yeah.
So I'm asking for 4-lane, like from the bank down to, past the Mexican restaurant, say. Or,
First block there.
yeah, down to like 9th Street or something, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just a discussion, but they kind of tended to agree. I was like, when we really encounter problems is when the train stopped on the tracks for a long period of time and no one knows about sneak out or whatever. So they didn't have any problem. It's not like,
Count know about it. It's called Beltline residents. And the fire department's pretty good when we call them in to go direct traffic, because traffic's backed up to the Iowa River Bridge through Sneak Out. I think it's a pretty good offer.
Mhm.
EC could have said buzz off that duration.
our statute of limitations, yeah,
Yeah.
ended.
Looks like a good deal.
And if we can get a hawk system down there where we got some red flashing lights, that's gonna help the safety guard, get kids across that street. If it's a 3-lane, that means we'll only have 2 full lanes of moving traffic through. You and have a turning lane. It's just gonna make it, it'll be Beltline, welcome to, either that or we'll get a roundabout. I don't think we want that.
That's a
Why
solid
not?
pass.
We don't have enough room.
DOT can always get room.
Yeah.
Denny Brown, you lost your front porch. The roundabout's going there. Well, give me a motion then to approve us accepting this settlement with them.
I'll make a motion to approve final settlement from EMC.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Would you like me to email Tony about that, or you take care of it? Thank you.
Committee of the whole. Start first with Republic. I believe our contract is coming up. We have choices to just renew with Republic, or we can send out bids and take bids. I guess if you ask me, I would say we're probably better off doing another 5 years with Republic. If we can go through the bid, and there have been garbage companies that have contacted us, right, Sandy?
Yeah, we've had 3 approaches wanting to know when the contract's up.
But the contract's on the open end of it, where we can go renew for another 5 years and discuss rates and stuff with them, or rebid it.
Concern is in changing is just the quality, the service. I think Republic does a really good job.
I do too, and I think there's things like, how many big companies treat our elderly the way they do, where all we have to have is an older person call in and say, can you have them come up and pick my Benz up, and they get out of the truck and go up, pick them up, and they'll found out an interesting case, and I think this is true if it's a recycle week, the first driver will pull both bins down and dump the one he's supposed to dump and then leave. And then the next guy comes along and he dumps his, and then he will take them both back up. I just don't think that kind of service, I think we've ironed out our problems on, well, it's not really free, so we're gonna have to adjust that, but, I haven't heard. I think they're on another new driver again.
He seems pretty good.
But you guys are happy working with
Seems
them
pretty good.
in the office, correct?
They're good to work with. They're good to work with.
Are we
This
going
is-
to know the rates before we would renew?
Oh, yeah.
Renewal rates?
Yeah, we can negotiate that ahead of time, say, all right, we'd like to do a renewal, but what are you gonna do for rates for the next 5 years?
Weren't they talking about raising it at one point?
Well,
They're
they go
gonna have
up
to
every
probably
year.
with the fuel
so.
surcharge too. I would anticipate seeing that with the price of fuel. I've seen a lot of that going on. All the other haulers and
Well, everybody's probably gonna do it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we can see, I can approach them and see what the
Yeah,
offer would be. And
that's why what you
You
guys
can always
want
see
is
it and then
we can
change your
open
mind.
negotiations up with them, and if we absolutely don't like what they're talking about, we can say, well, we're gonna rebid this.
Maybe when Waste Management approached us that time with, they wanted to roll the contract forward for 5 years, but they gave us a proposal. And at that time, they wanted to have service every other week, and they had some big changes in mind and an increase every year in the rate. And so at that point, we just said, no, I think we'll open this up to bids, and they ended up having to bid, being one of the bidders.
What I'm hearing is you guys would like to deal with Republic, but let's hear what they want to offer.
Right.
So we will just contact them, probably have them come in like January. I don't think we want to try playing, your next meeting's gonna be long, I can already tell you that right now. I haven't started typing it yet, but
that's
no,
close to the end of the year.
yeah, that means there's stuff.
It's Christmas week.
We can get Christmas cookies here, you can munch on home.
Hopefully it doesn't have to have a special meeting in there too.
God, I hope, well,
Budget will be in January 1st.
there might be a budget amendment in there somewhere, I don't.
I just wanted to mention to the council that the only real issue that Republic has with us is in regarding to the way they serve us is they can't turn around at the top of Rainbow Drive with their truck very easily. They would have to drive through someone's yard and they back all the way up. So Jay and I met a while back to try to come up with a solution up there to widen out a driveway, just a personal driveway, so that they can turn around. Otherwise, it wasn't working well. And in the wintertime, they can't back a truck all the way up the hill from Ben Rhodes all the way up to Greg Walton's.
Let's talk, you can widen mine.
It would be helpful.
Yeah,
This doesn't need to
I
be.
want what's his name from Republic to give me an offer on what they're gonna give us for that. More than $50 a month off on our deposit, our dumping fees for the business stuff they throw in there. Yeah, we can work that kind of stuff out.
I like Republic.
I've been
I deal with
satisfied
them
it.
myself too, with the dumpster at the apartment.
Jay, we saw okay time to do that.
Have nothing but good with them. So,
Not that song. Spring.
December.
When's our contract run out?
First July.
Yeah, we'll get you warm weather before we're pouring any concrete.
Sounds good.
Plus we'll get something for it. All right, that's a committee of the whole, so you've given me enough ideas that we will let the public know that we'd like them to come and give us their proposal. If we don't like it, then we'll open it. Anything you want to talk about water supply?
We have concluded our testing. Jay packaged everything back up and it's waiting to go back to Seppermatic. This was one of their tests. This was the original water. This is the finished water. I don't know if you guys can see the difference there. So when it came to removal of iron and manganese, there was as close to 100% efficacy as you can get. Took it almost to zero for the iron and manganese. It did not remove any calcium carbonate, so the total hardness number is still kind of high, but this treatment was specifically for taste, odor, and aesthetics. So when the water comes out, it's clean, clear.
What does it taste like?
Tastes all right.
One minute.
This has been in here
It's
for
a little strong on chlorine because we had to use liquid chlorine up there, so it's a little strong on that. But
yeah, for the test. So
Where's Kramer when you need?
this doesn't solve all of the problems, but this gives us data to send to Veenstra and Kim, and we've done that. So Nick sent that off this week. Jay packaged the unit up, so it's getting ready to get shipped out.
So we're one step closer.
We're one step closer, yes. And then, so the next step will be to determine if, how, what we'll use to try to get the calcium carbonate down, or if we just roll with the system, the filter system, and people will have, if we blend it, the water will still be hard, but it won't be as hard as it was. And they won't have the constant rust issues other than the rust that's just in the water main itself already, because they're iron.
Does the filter guy think we can take some of the hardness out of it?
So the iron and manganese both contribute to the total hardness number, but the calcium carbonate is the white chalky stuff that's in the water that comes out of the limestone when it's sitting underground. To have like a softening system, like a very large water softener up there.
But an in-home one would take care of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things, was a plumber years ago. I was just like, it would be cheaper for everybody to buy a water softener than it would be for us to spend all of the money to soften all of the water that we use for everything from, whatever people use water in their strawberries or fill in their pools or, anything. You're treating every drop of water. So as we go through, we'll just be systematic about it, and we'll get, the engineers had recommended that we put a reverse osmosis system in, and we know that that's, $6 million, and we might be able to get there another way. This is just the first step, and it worked very well, the prototype. So it could be like a phased out thing where we do this and then we build on it and we build on it, because at the end of the day, this is just treating well 6, and well 6 is a good producer, and we only need it in extreme drought situations unless we want to go all in with it and treat all that water and have it as a regular producer. And right,
Push Meester and Kim to give us an answer on what they think of our test results and what they're thinking. We'll keep addressing this until eventually we come up with what our plan's gonna be. I think the news on the filter is positive as all get.
yeah. So this water, just to be clear, it is clear. It's still hard. So it has mineral. It has calcium mineral in it.
Well, I kind of tapped into most of your administrator's report, but I'm gonna freeze you there.
Okay.
I'm gonna hand the microphone over to Jay, because he's got some things he'd like us to consider that we can put into a resolution or a motion at the next meeting. And actually, but if you hear something here tonight you want him to follow up on and get started on it, I'm gonna ask you to give him an okay, and then we'll actually put the official motion in order at the next meeting, because I didn't get this information till yesterday. But he's done a lot of work on finding us some equipment that will help us do a whole bunch of the things that we do. So Jay, I'm turning the floor over to you, and relax. You know, these are just a bunch of Belle Plaine people.
Yeah, I know. So I've been working on bids for a skid loader / excavator. And yesterday I got a quote back from Titan Machinery. I thought was really, really good. So I'm working on trading a 621 end loader off on a skid loader is where I'm concentrating. And my bid come back from, so I've been offered 3 different prices for this end loader. I got a bid for 50,000, and I've gotten one for 41, and Titan come yesterday and offered 75,000 for it. So to get the skid loader we really want set up the way we want is going to cost $60,314. Our trade-in $75,192. That leaves them to pay us back $14,878. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that that's really good.
And that's more than we paid for it, correct?
Yeah.
For that loader?
9,000.
Yep. We paid 64,000 for it. Looks like,
11,000.
yeah, last year. So, and I run the hours. We have used it a total of 100 hours, about 102 to be exact. And probably 30 hours of that was me loading dirt with it, and that's not something we would normally do. So the hours on the primary one we used for a year was 413 hours. So that's, if we had a skid loader, that's going to knock the hours of use down on an end loader too. So I just thought it was pretty good news to bring to you.
Can we use that skid loader then on snow removal on Main Street?
We can.
We just need proper
Attachments.
attachments.
Yeah, we need a,
That's kind of where I was planning with that 14,000. I would like to get a snow bucket, a grapple, and a jackhammer. So I'm going to be pushing it probably. I might get 1 or 2 of the things, but that's like my main goal, hopefully. So
right now we're using Jay's skid loader. He's volunteering it with his concrete breaker and loader bucket.
Is this a new skid loader? It's
It's brand new,
Brand spanking new.
loaded.
got air conditioning.
You betcha.
You're running, right?
Yeah.
Assume a heater, if we're gonna be using this stuff.
No. It's like it'd be the step down from the biggest one they make, so it's exactly perfectly sized.
Serve us for a long, long time.
Right.
And available.
Yeah.
I
that was
just
one-
think, folks, this is a no-brainer. This is a deal we should cut.
That's another thing. I got a bid from Star on a Manitou, and their problem is their lead time is unknown. They're thinking if you would order it today, you'd see it by the end of 24.
We're just in the right place at the right time. They've already got this thing coming.
Yeah, they ordered it back in March just for stock order, and it just, I don't know why, but it just happens to have everything on there we want.
I think we need to buy it, so I think that we need to approve it tonight, that way we don't lose out. And then we can worry about the resolution and everything else later on.
And it's probably has the capability with gobs of attachments, right?
Yeah, that was one thing I was looking over. The price was a little bit better before today, but I wanted high flow on it for other attachments. So it'd be set up to put on whatever we put on it.
Why don't you guys give Steve and I the executive authority to tell Jay, order this dang thing, get it in motion, and then we'll have a resolution for formal approval at the next meeting. Does that sound doable?
I think we should move
Oh, yeah.
forward on it.
So can you get a quote on all three of those attachments you're talking about? That way we kind of know, like, say if we're $1,000 over the 14, we can figure something out.
I got him on my email down that he just sent them like at 5:30. So
Okay,
I got them, but I don't have them.
all right.
Honestly, this happened way faster than I thought it was going to. So I've been kind of scatting around trying to get
Because,
ducks in a row. And
I mean, honestly, if you want 3 attachments and it's $1,000 over, I think we'd be foolish not to figure out how to get that, because
I know
in
where
a
to
year,
We'll get
I
it.
know
it's
where to
gonna
get
be
Okay, there you're.
$5,000
Your clerk
more.
just told you she knows where to get the
I know where to
money.
get it.
We've saved enough money fixing our own water main breaks to pay for the extra stuff.
So give me a motion that's just an executive order for the mayor and the city administrator to order some machinery.
I'll make a motion that you guys can get the machinery coming.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, and I think the discussion for most of you is we need to do this. So all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. So
thank you.
Jay,
Mhm.
you coordinate with Sandy on how we do the ordering, and let's get it done. And then either Steve or Sandy, you get to write the resolution for the next meeting. Okay, Sandy's got that, so.
I'd like to thank Jay for all his hard work on that.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I will say though, when he comes into the office after he's doing some of this, it's like a kid at Christmas time going, I'm getting what I want for Christmas.
Makes my job easier, I can tell you that.
Well, and
It's an extremely positive investment
Yeah.
for the city of Oakland.
Absolutely.
The next thing we'll be working on is getting rid of the backhoe, a couple of other erroneous pieces of equipment, and getting a mini excavator.
Getting usable,
And then we've got,
multitasking.
we have hit our accomplishments.
and that was our purpose in hiring Jay, is to get this whole thing under control, so we're a full-fledged city doing, and this will be anything that gets a few people off my back about snow removal on Main Street.
There we go.
Yeah,
We'll take care of it.
but I'm tired of being yelled at in July about, I I didn't like your snow removal again. It's a little hard to even think about snow July 1st, so.
Snow removal's that hard. If all the businesses would either clean off their stuff during the day, or, because the city only does snow removal on Main Street at night.
Well, Mother Nature would cooperate and quit snowing at 4 o'clock in the morning and work with my plan a lot better. There's just times that never happens. I can remember Bill going, well, I was standing there at 1 a.m. and it was just pouring down snow, then it quit, then we started, and then when we got done, then it started snowing again. Yeah, welcome to Iowa.
I have, if I may,
I'm gonna turn it
Okay.
back to you to finish up your
Okay.
section. Jay, I appreciate all the work you've done in coming to the meeting and get this
Thank you, Jay.
rolling.
absolutely, it's very positive. So 1303 6th Avenue, that's the house over near Casey's that we had placarded, and it had been sold to Rusty Wright. He is asking for a final inspection because he believes he has everything ready to go and has that house done and livable and habitable and mitigated all of the problems. I talked to Mike about it, and he said he could be here at 11 tomorrow if we want to do that. He said the only thing that Rusty mentioned that is not complete is he has a vinyl floor that is not installed in one area, but that wasn't something that was on the list. But Mike said, well, maybe you could just have the council say, when Rusty's done with the floor, I could go down and look at it and make sure the floor is done or something like that. I'm open to whatever. I think he's excited to get the final inspection done, and Mike's available. So as of right now, Mike's coming at, unless you say you want the house 100% floor done, everything, the flooring is pretty minuscule, really. Then since this is going to be kind of a success story, it's a house that we thought we were going to have to tear down, potentially, if we wanted to pay for the final inspection, or if he's going to pay for the final inspection, the owner.
If you remember, solo inspections are gonna run you $550 to $600.
Can we get him in 1410 6th Avenue?
Is that,
I brought that up about 4 months ago.
Well, that's a new one.
Yes, that I asked to have inspected.
Well, I suppose we could do it that way, then I wouldn't fear so much footing the cost.
I think Chief has to get a court.
Yeah, but we have to get an administrative search warrant to do
Got the
that.
corner house up there.
Yep.
Is
Needs
this,
to be,
Yeah,
It
that's
needs, yeah.
be on the list.
uh, yeah, I would need to get an administrative search warrant, but I can do that.
Can you get it by 11 o'clock in the morning?
No.
Well, what if we postpone him until he can tell him.
I'm supposed to call Mike at 9 tonight and let him know what the
tell
council wants
Mike
to
that
do.
we're gonna give him another house to inspect so we can get this more costly effective for the city.
So we're not passing along that final inspection cost to we're gonna,
Well,
I
I
would
think,
put it this way. What I would say is if we can get Mike in next week to do a double inspection, then, the city can pay for it. But if Rusty wants it done tomorrow, it's Rusty's cost.
That's a good
that's a
idea.
good point.
If he wants it faster than next week.
Well, and then he can get his floor in too.
Yeah.
Possibly,
And then it'll be done.
and it'll be
Does
done.
that make sense, Steve?
yep, I'm just gonna write down some notes here quickly before.
I think that's the.
We'll let you work that out with Mike and the chief and Rusty.
So just so I understand, if Rusty wants it inspected tomorrow, he's gonna pay for the inspection.
Yep.
If he waits until next week, we got a twofer and we're gonna pay for it. Chief will have- Okay.
Mhm.
And that'll also give him time to have his floor done.
That's good. I
That'll
like
be a good
that.
incentive.
Yeah.
does this same individual, Mr. Wright, does he own the house that Bruce Byers used to
Yeah.
live?
Yes.
And-
Yeah.
And what is the status of that?
Siding's, he's working on it, I see it.
The outside has, I believe, has been cited. He called me earlier today, but I did not have time to go up and look at it. He said that the building has been cited and the windows and everything else has been sealed up on the outside, and they're going to work on the inside throughout winter. He said that the basement, the foundation issues that Mike had cited, he had a foundation crew come in and do tuck pointing and foundation repair inside and out. So everything inside will take place over the winter, and he said he's hoping to have that completed by spring. He also bought another one that was not on the list that he's going to be working on as well.
Same people, same seller.
Yeah, they were all the former Enos properties. Yeah, Mr. Enos was just having problems.
I'm glad he's bringing in quality people to do the work and do all the work.
He's doing it himself, and he and his brother are doing it. The majority of the work that I've seen and heard about.
But at least it's
Yeah,
done.
Mhm.
Well, and that's two houses that.
those are success. I mean, if they're
Yeah,
not
there'll
torn
be
down,
Success stories that, yeah, that there'll be rental property and not tore down vacant lots. I think that's a plus.
I think that deep down, that's the heart of the program, is just to make, so we have places for people to live. And if they can fix up what's there, it's not completely trashed.
Any further things from the city administrators?
Oh, let's see. We already went over a lot of this. The sirens are installed. However, the communication decoders inside the new sirens aren't playing well with our federal brand. So the company that installed them will be bringing down 2 decoders that they'll install the next time they're in the area, so we don't have to pay a huge trip charge. And he thought it'd be about $1,000, and then all of them will communicate and work at the same time
And we can set them off then.
from here
And from county.
and from county. Right now, we can just set them off manually, so we can still test them monthly.
So
We
if
just have to
there's
go
a
up and
Tornado at night, you go get those 2 manually and.
I'll get one. Jay's
I'll
buy
have
one, I'll get one.
Set off together, one.
Just get your log chain and ride her out.
I can get the one by me, I guess.
I think that was one of the best investments we've made. Those things would have cost us an arm and a leg.
80,000.
Yeah. Now the
I
town's
seen-
gotta be covered.
I seen the one up on, is it 16th? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I think that's.
I worked with the company, and so we put it right in a strategic spot on 16th, right where we wanted it. And then the one at the pool, I mean, if we would have had these things, we got a grant earlier, we got the best thing we could at the time, but now the whole school area is covered and that part of town out into the well field. So if anybody's, the sewer plant, anybody's working outside, any of our staff, we're covered.
Anything else, Steve?
No, sir, unless anybody has any questions.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
In regards to the homes and the inspections, I noticed that there was a property on realtor.com that's for sale that we had going to court, I believe. Will they have to disclose that to the buyer?
I've already told them they dang well better.
I've spoken to
Because it's
Okay.
still going to court.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been exchanging emails with the realtor saying, you
Okay.
have to tell the buyer that's
Yeah.
scheduled to go to court.
Okay.
And they've already lost one.
The one just,
1502 6th Avenue.
They already lost one proposed buyer, took a look at it. He says that foundation's too bad to work with.
well, I'm just happy. I just happened to be looking on Zillow, and because we couldn't get a hold of the owners at all. Like,
Well, we found out
And
that.
so the
because
realtor-
Another one of those cases of boyfriend and girlfriend buy property. It's going in one person's name and then they split. And so then he was throwing all her mail away and all the work our lawyers did trying to locate her. They could have sent a zillion letters. He was pitching them all. So that's how it ends. So then she tried selling it. He discovers it on Zillow.
So we're trying to stay,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully someone buys it and comes in and makes a deal and
Mhm.
fixes it up. But I actually showed that to Rusty and his brother and another investor / renovator too. So
Yeah.
if it can be saved, I don't know.
The guy that was gonna renovate it for his mother-in-law or his mother contacted me and said, no,
He's out.
Yeah.
I'm out. So yes, good point.
Okay.
We're trying
I
to
just caught
stay-
that last night. Then when I was looking, I was like, ooh.
We're trying to stay ahead of that stuff.
But some of Jennifer could speak to it better, but some of the people are impossible to get a hold of. So then you just have to post it in the paper, right?
So when there's court proceedings, that involve a piece of real estate, it goes on what's called lis pendus, and that then notifies any buyer because it would show up in the abstract. Now, if they don't have the abstract continued, or they just do a quick claim deed, then they're not gonna know that, but it's still subject to all of those things.
For instance, like Dwayne Carlson up there in the same neighborhood. He's a ghost. Can't get a hold of him.
Anything else? I'll make this quick. Start with the court case. First, I just like the council to know that our lawyer represented us. Fantastic. Well organized. She has a plan how to attack what we want to attack in that court case, how to attack what you're trying to present. And I was not only pleased, I was impressed, Jennifer, with your preparation. Especially when you had me on the stand going through those 6 books trying to find the damn thing in there. You were much easier to work with than the enemy lawyer who was trying to make me look like a blithering idiot the whole time. So I mean, I can let Jennifer speak to where this is at. I just was impressed, and I have told the people who, because I revealed it in my newsletter that we were in a lawsuit, and that has stayed out of the public's attention. But I decided that better when I had people go, "What I hear you're going to court." Finally decided they better know that we're in a lawsuit, why we're in a lawsuit, and that we think we have good reason. And Jennifer impressed me with her operations court. I wasn't impressed with the city of Cedar Rapids and their parking downtown Cedar Rapids. It's no wonder they got money to play with. Plus, if we put that kind of parking in here, we'd have older people in here with guns threatening us.
I mean, everybody has to back in.
No, they got rid of that, but trying to figure out how you go and pay.
There's a kiosk and you have to type
Oh,
in.
no, the
I,
one down
I
in
went
Moline.
and parked in a
Oh, God.
handicap, which by the way, I have a handicap sticker, but it was a 2-hour one. And he said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to see if they give me a ticket. And then I'm going to have the city pay for it." He says, "Well, I'll go move it." So he has me in a handicap spot in front of the courthouse because he can figure out how to run the kiosk. But then he walks through and the sheriff's deputies are saying, "Aren't you in and out?" So I had to move the mayor's car. So they're all getting, "Mayor's in the courthouse. Didn't see her coming." He says, "No, it's the Belle Plaine mayor in the courthouse." Which they didn't care.
They were still impressed.
Still made me take my belt off to go through the metal detector.
Oh, gosh.
So one day was in Cedar Rapids, and one day was much easier in Benton, was the second day. And Jennifer, why don't you summarize for them what is going on over the next 3 weeks?
So this was originally scheduled for a Tuesday, Wednesday trial, but somehow it didn't end up on Judge Kepros's personal calendar. And so he had scheduled 4 doctor's appointments for Tuesday. And so he asked us if we would be opposed to splitting it into 2 different days. And we're like, no, we just want this done. And so then it became, well, we don't have a courthouse that's available for both days. And we said, we don't care, we'll go wherever you have a courthouse available, which is how we ended up in Cedar Rapids and in Benton. It worked fine. It was a full 2 days of trial. And Judge Kepros has asked both attorneys by the 14th to submit a preliminary findings of fact, conclusions of law, and ruling, setting forth our position and attacking the other position. And then after we've seen that, we have to submit our final findings of fact, conclusions of law, and ruling by the 23rd of December. And the judges typically between Christmas and New Year's have ruling days built in there. And for the most part, he's caught up. So he's hoping to rule on it sometime between Christmas and New Year's and or shortly thereafter. So we will have some type of resolution. I would hope here in the next 30 to 60 days at the latest. So it will be nice to finally be able to put that one to bed. As I was telling the mayor, this case would have been very difficult to pass off to another lawyer that had not been sitting in on all the meetings and all the things that I had been sitting in on since we started this project, because there was so much institutional knowledge in my head about when we had meetings, when things got approved, you know, those types of things.
She even knows how the sewer plant runs by heart.
I'm not running the sewer plant, just, you know. But, you know, just some of those things that I think it would have been very difficult if we would pass that off to somebody else. So I'm glad that, you know, we decided not to do that. But there was a lot of points that we were able to make, and my take from the questioning from Jeff Stone and Jake Nelson was, well, the contract applies to you guys and you guys have to follow it to the letter, but that's not the way we do business and you guys just have to forgive anything we did wrong. Is that fair?
His common answer was, well, yeah, that's the way the contract reads, but that's not the way we do it.
Yeah.
Either that or I had him at, that one was too many times to count. I also had him at 12 times, I don't recall, which I found was useful when you're on the stand and the defense. The opposition is trying to make you look like you have no clue what you're talking about. But yes, their basic premise is that the contract applies to the city of Belle Plaine, but the contract doesn't apply to the contractor. And that's how we got into this. That, and I'm 100% convinced they lost the original change order. And that's why they never sent it to us. Because the only change order that was introduced in evidence is the one I tried to have him send to them so we could get a signed change order back.
And that was in 2020, after the lawsuit was already filed.
That shouldn't sit very well, should it?
No. And like I was
They
explaining-
deny they ever got a change order.
as I was explaining to the mayor, you know, Iowa has some pretty specific language and some statutes and some cases in regards to the mitigation of damages when you have a breach of contract. And so you, if the contract is breached, you have a duty to attempt to mitigate your damages. You can't just refuse to do anything and then expect to get interest and penalty and all of those types of things. And the easiest way to explain that is if you are involved in a lease and you leave your lease 6 months early, the landlord has a duty to try and release your property, okay? Or release your unit. So if the landlord just sits there and does nothing for 6 months and then tries to take you to court that says you owe me for 6 months of rent, the court's gonna go, no, you didn't do anything to mitigate your damages. Now, if the landlord puts an ad in the paper and gets it leased and the new person covers 4 of that 6 months, they're gonna go back after you for your back rent for the 2 months they didn't cover, plus whatever the advertising fee is. It's all about mitigating your damages. In this case, WRH has refused to sign the change order. And because they refused to sign the change order, that's been provided to them, and all of the numbers in the change order were their numbers and their time frames. Even if they didn't get that change order the first time until we sent it with Steve's date of 2020 on it, they didn't sign it. And so my argument is, one of my big arguments is, they're not entitled to any interest after 2020 when we could have paid this.
And I will say Nick did a good job testifying. Jackie did a good job testifying. 84% of our engineers testimony I was having with 16% of it wasn't. It still gets back to when he said that project was complete and Nick's up there testifying, it's not either. We still got some button that doesn't work yet.
In our discussions with him, you know, there is a way to get that taken care of, and I know Steve and Sandy have already reached out to Ross to try and figure out what it is for the maintenance bond to get that Primex system functional. Because there's the sledge meters go through the Primex system, and you have to do a calculation for what the flow is coming into those sledge basins. And Nick spends 2 to 3 hours every day doing all the calculations so that he knows what the proper level to treat is. And if this system was functioning, he could eliminate an hour out of his job every day by pushing the button to get what the flow is. And so when we were having lunch with Ross, he says, well, you know, you can file against their maintenance bond or their warranty. And I said, well, then let's get it done, because there's no reason why that system should not be running, because Primex has not been out to.
They probably never got paid.
That's not my problem.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
So,
And I'm glad the case is over.
me too.
It's one other headache we don't need. So I had to testify on, we had to go to court for, plus Nick and Jackie and Steve got to sit out in the hallway and play on their cell phones. They couldn't be in the courtroom. It's a good thing our lawyer provided a charging station for Jackie because she kept wearing her phone out. It was an interesting 2 days. But I had then to go to Vinton on Monday nights, to go to Cedar Rapids, there all day, then bring Jackie back here and then take off for Vinton, which brings up a part of my report on emergency management. I don't have a secondary on that. It was Louis, and Louis finally gave me official notice. I ain't got time to do any of that stuff. So does somebody on the council want to be the backup on the emergency management committee? Now, if I get a councilman to do it, then you can always vote. Louis didn't want to do it anymore because state law changed, and if it's a budget item on the agenda, they can't vote on it. It has to be an elected representative. That could be a councilman, that could be the mayor. So I can't do it with Steve. He couldn't vote. Now there isn't, and that doesn't mean I'm going to send the secondary person a zillion times either. But just sometimes there may end up being a time where the backup has to go.
I am an elected official in another capacity. Does that count?
No. You have to be an elected official for the city of Belle Plaine. It's not a bad idea. Well, think about it. I'll bring this up to you at the next meeting, or I'll hold you hostage at the next meeting. Or bring me somebody I can nominate for the position. I haven't talked to the fire chief yet.
What are the days, or I mean, what, a little bit more information, I guess. What,
About last Monday of the month, 9 months out of the year at 6:30 event. And there's probably 4 of those months, there's budget items that have to be voted on.
Could it be a park board? Like, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out other people that are elected.
by 6:30?
I knew that wasn't gonna fit your schedule.
No,
What
that eliminates
time did
me.
you say, 6:30?
6:30, last Monday of the month.
I'll move that.
Do they have a Zoom option for that? Or is it in person?
That bunch.
Those guys
That
assume,
bunch.
I don't know who's involved.
Uh-uh.
despite the fact they're in charge of emergency management for Benton County and have all that computer equipment and stuff, I don't think Zoom was ever mentioned at any of those. I will bring that up to you later, and if not, I may talk to the fire chief and see if he wants to do it. As far as meetings, that emergency management was one, and we're starting on the budget, and this is going into the last year of Scott Hansen being our, we will be hiring a new guy next spring that'll be there 3 months working with Scott, and then it'll be his baby. Scott's gonna retire. And boy, I hope we get the right guy who's as dedicated as he is, because I mean, he was down here, I don't know how many different times after the derecho. He's the one that made the calls and said, hey, could you guys use any peanut butter and jelly and sandwich materials? Yeah, bring it. We'll get it made into sandwiches.
He was wonderful. I talked to him several times a day all through the whole derecho thing.
Yeah, good guy. Actually, we finally got a good truck. Then the first thing they noticed, we went from a car with a 4-cylinder engine into a full-size pickup. Somebody brought up, why are we burning up more gas? Well, it doesn't get as good gas mileage, and the price of gas is up. What do you think we're burning more gas for? Easy Cog was held in the city of Washington, which technically you can't get here from there. Reason being, they built a new mini bus shed that's a private entity with the city of Washington, and it might be something that we end up doing sometime way down the road when they no longer can use this bus shed where we put our mini buses. Those buses are owned by Easy Cog, and the reason they're owned by Easy Cog is they can get the federal money to buy them. Then they lease them out here through HACAP, and they run here. And I don't know, we got 4 or 5 of them here. The city of Washington actually has a senior citizen bus route that they run through the city to take them to various places like Walmart and Hy-Vee and all these places. So that was all right to go see. Not that I hadn't been in Washington because that was our main shopping area from Keota. I hadn't been there in 13 years. It made some nice improvements. Brand new YMCA, brand new police station in City Hall. I saw a fireman there, and I thought I should know that kid. It turned out was one of my former students who was always in trouble, who was the fire chief for city of Washington, Iowa. They have a full-time fire department. A lot of other, they've made some nice, if you think Vinton's done a nice job, Washington, Iowa's done an even better job. Was it worth driving all the way down there for lunch to see the mini bus barn and go to a meeting that took about 30 minutes? No. I knew it would have been better to stay here. Other than that, we have a development meeting next week, but it's a Christmas party. It's not really a full-blown meeting. So biggest thing I've been doing is trying to keep up on agenda work and going to court. Any questions? Was a busy week last week.
We'll have landfill next week too,
What night?
Thursday. It'll be the 3rd Thursday.
Good, then I have been development. It's bad Van Horn doesn't have a hotel. Well, that's my schedule for next week. Van Horn meetings on Wednesday and Thursday. Anything else? Last item in here is that biocell letter. I'll just let you guys discuss the issues there. I do know at some point last year, Dave Kramer's granddaughter made contact with us about possibly doing that if we could pay a little bit. That could be a possibility, is doing something. Sit down with the Donovan committee and see what kind of plan we can put together, what we need to put back in those biocells that's low maintenance. And then, you know, the problem with going with those creative things is we've learned there's nothing on the architect's plan. Well, how do you take care of this stuff after it's built? And no matter what you say about it, to me, they're high maintenance.
Well, hopefully, when spring comes, a lot of this will come back. I don't think she was indicating that it all died and it's done for, because these are native plants, and there were some that were doing very well.
Okay,
So I think that's where we are. That's my take on it, is where we need to wait until spring and not expect that we've got to start over from square one.
See what comes up next.
Right.
so I should get back to you when I see what's growing in April.
That's too early.
Isn't that when they told us our biocells look bad?
Yeah, that's when Greg Johnson told us that they look bad, but you gotta wait longer than that.
I want some of that tall grass stuff again and the stuff with the purple.
Well, that was down at the entrance.
Yeah, I love that.
That was pretty.
If we'd have had purple on one side and gold on the other side, we'd have been fantastic.
That was so established. That purple stuff. That was just, I mean,
Was that some of the original? that was
Yes.
put in?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. and it disappeared.
Okay.
Can we get some more of that with the Donovan Fund? Put a little purple stuff with some tall grass and help plant it. It's the only offer you'll ever get out of it, plant it. Well, I'll bring the issue up to you as we approach the spring and see where we're headed with it, but I think we'll have to make another tough decision and get it done.
I think we need some rules going forward. Like people just don't rip out whatever they don't like.
They'll put in whatever they want to without going through.
Here's,
Hadn't we discussed previously about adopting biocells or something like that?
yeah, but I think Belle Plaine Development found out that doesn't work either. Nobody will adopt.
Oh, really?
I think that's what Belle Plaine Development discovered, that none of the merchants would really take over doing that. And we could have another discussion with Belle Plaine Development.
Well, I think it would be worthwhile,
I mean, what about even citizens, putting out to citizens and stuff?
right, because Kay says in here that she maintained 34 of the 36 biocells. And I would hope that there would be 34 to 36 people in the community, or groups within the community, or business owners within the community that could just take one.
Are they still
Just take
doing,
one.
are they still doing that out at the park?
Yes, and struggling with some of those too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who doing it at the park?
Park and rec, you have people that have taken certain
Oh,
spots.
oh,
and
yeah, those.
don't you like
They've been
adopt
adopted.
a little area and,
But
You
it
can
comes and
maintain it.
goes. It comes and goes.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Judy, why don't you bring this up to your Belle Plaine Development president? Because it was his plan that he was gonna get volunteers, and last word I got is they couldn't get it. And just bring that back to us. And then if you wanna sit down and start writing up the rules of biocells, the mayor's rule was if I could find a volunteer, I turned them loose, and I'll write the grants to the Donovan Fund.
Well, I mean, we started out with certain plants and, you know, just like those purple things, they disappeared. Somebody didn't like them, apparently. I mean, they just didn't die off. They just, I mean, they were too well established for that. And you just can't keep putting money out to buy plants and then have somebody else come along and say, well, I don't like those, so I'm gonna rip them out. They're gonna have to work with,
I think you're struggling to get volunteers now. You put too many rules in, you're not gonna get volunteers at all.
well, then they can put whatever they want in.
It's the number one headache of the mayor's department in the city of Belle Plaine on biocells. Get me that and snow removal.
We can concrete them.
Ask him how many times I've said that's what I would do.
Paint them green.
You could put a fake plant in the middle of
Colored
one.
concrete.
Mhm.
Colored
Stencil it.
sand concrete.
What about rock gardens, just throwing rocks in there? Or is that not part of the premise of them?
That was another proposal I had, River Rock.
Maybe eliminate most of them and then only have plants in certain ones or something, but rock most of them.
Well, I think
We
you
can
could, I
brainstorm
think
about it.
if, if you left the ones on the corners that are
Mhm.
bigger with the trees in them and
Yeah.
left those with plants, but like all the ones that are in front of the businesses
Mhm.
that are, narrow, if you rock those, then weed controls round up.
I think, the small ones, like in where you park, I think they originally put river rock in them at one time, but.
Sand washed in.
Right.
I don't think there was ever river rock in
Yeah, I
those.
don't think so
I
either.
think it was all mulch and that's disappeared with.
I hauled it up there, so I'm pretty sure. At least 4 or 5 of them I know.
Okay.
But I think it's.
Well-
They tried mulch and the mulch floated and covered up the drains. So all that was removed because it wouldn't sit still because water goes in there and then it gets up to a certain height, then it goes down into the storm drain system. So the ones that were problematic had
Rock.
larger river rock in them.
Well, wasn't that on the second go around where they had to dig everything out and line them, and then on the south side,
That was part of it.
I mean, I think they might have put rock in that part on the south side.
Could be. I just wanted to quit leaking water into the basements of those businesses.
Mhm.
Well, that was the liner part of it, but
Well, yeah, that's when we did the experimental one where they discovered you can't build that thing against 150-year-old basement walls without putting a liner in there. You talk to the Belle Plaine president, you and Steve get together and maybe start a plan of what plants we need to go where. Or do we need to rock some of them or?
I still think we need to wait. I don't think that the situation is as dire as what we may think that it is. I think because these are hardy plants, these
I
coneflowers.
will smile in May when
And I
May
hope
flowers come
that it
from
won't
April
be,
showers.
I hope that when spring comes, it won't be, we've got to start over completely. It's like, okay, these are doing all right, because these plants are supposed to be okay with the drought. True, this has been a terrible, terrible drought and they didn't get watered. And more of them would be doing well if they had gotten timely rains or watered by people. But I don't view that we can say that this is a failure. We will not know until we see what comes up in the spring.
No, but we still have to make a plan on how we're gonna take care of them in the future.
Correct. But as far as what we're gonna pull out and put in, that may be a moot point, or it may not be as much of a problem as we are thinking that it might be. Let's wait and see what happens in the spring.
Okay, I'm good. Anything else from the council? Because I have no residents here for comment. So if not, I'm looking for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I would hope not. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes 4-0. You're out at 8:09. And